Kyle Keenan is standing by from the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. Got a question for you, Kyle. You ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Here it is. How is it possible that a school with 4.1% of students reading at grade level can be determined to exceed expectations on the DPI school report card? How does that work? How does that happen? It makes no sense.
Very good. Yeah, very good question, and thanks for having me on. It's a clear indication that our report card standards are broken right now. Not to get into too much technical detail, but essentially one of the things that we are looking at and have continually looked at is that our report cards overemphasize growth. Growth is important, but if you're starting, at 4 or 8%, it's really easy to double the amount of growth you have. And that's a problem. We need to track growth, but we also need to look at how a student or a school and a district's performing overall. We had 0 districts that fall into the lowest category on our report cards last year, and that's just not right.
So no schools are failing, right? No schools fail. Yay!
Some schools fail, no districts fail, but yes,
no
exactly
fail.
Right.
Milwaukee's district doesn't fail. Yay! Everything's great. It's perfect. So let's say on this school and this concept, you have 4.1% of kids reading or doing math at grade level. So maybe before 3.1% of kids couldn't read at grade level. And so because now 4.1% of kids are reading at grade level, it's good. It's excellent. Lots of growth there, right? A whole point of growth or maybe 2 points of growth. And so that's an exceeds expectation rating from DPI. But if you're a parent, that means nothing, that you think this is a good school.
Yep, and that's exactly the idea of having good accountability and report cards is a good idea, but they need to work because the information that's out there needs to be usable for parents to choose a school that best fits their kids' needs. And if we are, putting rose-colored glasses on and determining that schools with under 10% reading proficiency are in the meets or exceeds expectations category, then we're not giving parents an honest assessment. And so what's going on right now is, or us taxpayers. So DPI is in the process of rewriting their report card standards right now. And that's why Will sent a nice comment to them this past week to encourage them to adopt more rigorous standards. They have to do this process because if you recall last year, they lowered their standards on the state testing exams, the forward exams, which kids take. They lowered those cut scores, and because those test scores feed into the report cards, it's made the report cards even less reliable in determining a school's performance. So
we'll just jack it up by 12 points. Just jack everybody up by 12 points like they did with the DPI proficiency exam. Just everybody, you get an extra 12 points. You're functionally illiterate and you're completely illiterate, but no problem. You're going to get an extra 12 points. It's like, you get credit for just being there.
Yeah, that's 100% right. And that's why we need to make sure that DPI going through this process has been put on notice to ensure that they know that people are watching, to ensure that they adopt more rigorous standards when it comes to grading schools. We should not have 0 school districts falling in the fails to meet expectation categories when you have districts like Milwaukee that are continually delivering for students and parents.
Oh, yeah. They're among the worst in the country. And so to suggest that they meet expectations is a lie. It's a total lie. So let's kind of stay on this concept. At 4.1% reading at grade level, proficiency at grade level, that suggests to me, if that exceeds expectations, that as long as you're really poor, you have, lots of people don't speak English maybe, or you've got, lots of Black kids, then it's totally fine to let, total illiteracy be the status quo. And we'll say that exceeds expectations. That sounds like that's what they're saying to me, that they're using income and race or language proficiency is so heavily weighted that they're making a mockery of statistical analysis.
Yeah, it's the continued soft bigotry of low expectations. Wisconsin now has fallen behind both Mississippi and Florida in reading proficiency. and those states have far more kids with poverty. And a lot of this is Milwaukee, but it's happening outstate as well. It's not all limited to Milwaukee. Wisconsin has continually fallen down the national rankings in all of these measurements, and it's because we're falling behind. So we have the largest racial achievement gaps in the country. We really need to have the data that shows what's actually happening on the ground so we can really start to fix it. And parents know how to make choices and send their kids to the best schools possible.
Okay, so this racial achievement gap. So last I heard, we had yet another record-breaking increase in education spending. That was after two previous record-breaking increases in education spending. That was after more shared revenue going to the city of Milwaukee, because that's what's driving the racial achievement gap by and large. But every new budget, there's more money. It's now around $18,000 or $19,000 per student in Milwaukee. Would you ever pay $19,000 to send your kid to a school that had sub 10% proficiency in reading and math? Nobody would. So, please explain to me what the solution that has been proposed to the achievement gap is, because I can't figure it out. I thought it was just more money, and what might work better.
Yeah, it's all the data shows that putting more money into schools doesn't always net results, and frankly, rarely nets better results. As far as the achievement gap goes, there's no silver bullet to this. I think giving parents an option to choose the best school, that's a really important piece of this. But it's also ensuring that our teachers in the classroom are being taught how to actually teach kids. Our schools of education are not preparing teachers to properly go in and teach kids. It's getting discipline under control, because kids can't learn when there's an environment that breeds violence. It's also making sure we have the right reading curriculum in place and ensure we're teaching kids with phonics and not 3Qing and all these junk science when it comes to reading. So it's a lot of different levers that we have to pull to start making some progress here. It's going to take a lot of people being involved, but it's clear that we need the report cards to work first.
Yeah, none of that's rocket science. It's all been done before. It used to be the status quo of most American schools back in 1975. So that's not exactly ancient history, though it's not super recent. The further away you get from basics, discipline. So discipline, number one. Get the school report cards have to be honest. If there's 4.1% of kids failing, we should know that 4.1% of kids, or rather are succeeding, then we should know that. And that would that not be motivation to try to figure out what to do? You can then target these areas and you can say, what's missing here? Wow, we've got lousy teachers. Or we have teachers, I just read this story, we have teachers who get beat up by the parents when they're trying to help. That was a story from a couple of months ago, June, in the Milwaukee public school system. So we have problems with parents who don't want to take responsibility for their kids. We've got teachers who are not up to snuff. We have got discipline that has essentially been thrown out the door. Small wonder you're going to have gaps and lousy results, Kyle. Are we done? Are we done pretending that there's anything except just going back to basics that's going to handle the problem?
Yeah, it's going to take real leadership, both at the local level and at the state level, to ensure we kind of take that back to basics approach. Unfortunately, DPI has really failed in all of these manipulations of their data to demonstrate that, and haven't really put much effort into really improving student outcomes in Milwaukee.
So I want to play a game of fantasy. So, admittedly, it could happen though. Let's just pretend we get a reform-minded, education-minded governor for a change, not some phony teachers union hack like Tony Evers. What could be done with DPI? I know the DPI is a constitutional position, the superintendent, but what could be done with the agency that could make it easier to evade the political snares that the union toadies that completely dominate DPI set out for anyone who's reform-minded?
Yeah, I think it's going to take a whole-scale look at our statutes and looking at the powers of DPI and figuring out, A, what can be pushed back down to the locals, and B, where we can make reforms that take away any any ability for them to kind of make decisions on their own, right? I think
Yes.
they need to we need to have set clear standards, take away, in the light of this recent Supreme Court decision, a lot of these agencies are going to have power to rewrite their rules. And I think we need to look at, take a really hard look at removing those powers and ensuring that the accountability rests with elected officials in the legislature, and let them do the lawmaking, not a DPI.
100%. Everybody, I was hoping you were going to mention that Supreme Court case, because DPI is going to be able to, evade any kind of accountability if they want to. It'll be like public attention and pressure unless the legislature gets in there and starts unwinding things. And the only way the legislature is going to be able to do that is if we have a Republican governor, because that Supreme Court decision is going to it gives DPI an enormous amount of authority, which is terrifying to me, Kyle. It's already bad. How bad can it get? Does everybody just breathe in and out and suck on baby pacifiers?
Yeah, it is bad, and it could get worse. And we've seen instances of this. Will had a case with DPI had this unwritten rule, the perfection rule, where they would essentially deny people from the school choice program because their address on the utility bill didn't match up exactly like it did on their application for small clerical errors. Those are the type of things, the bureaucrats at DPI, that is their mindset right now, and it's not one that's pro-parent. So we need to be able to have people in leadership positions that will fight that narrative.
So they're more interested in trying to stop people from exercising their rights and under the authority of the school choice program than they are at the fact that in schools that are exceeding expectations, most kids are basically mouth breathers and so illiterate they probably couldn't even be employed. Good to have you on the program, Kyle. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me on, Vicki. Have a good weekend.
You as well. And we will take a quick break and have more happy talk on the Vicki McKenna Show when we come back.